So, folks, we gotta talk about ICE here in Minnesota, what the situation is, especially now that the information is proliferating that Greg Bovino is out, Tom Homan is in, and just want to say right off the bat, anyone who's trying to pretend that like Tom Homan is going to be better for Minnesota or more moderate, like no, he's like again a guy who's dumber than a box of rocks, and also he's installed specifically as a yes man. His entire persona and job is to like slobber on camera about like how he's gonna go brutalize black and brown people. Like that's hit the entire reason for his existence in this administration. So like yeah, of course he's gonna be sending like ICE to go do all of the same stuff, all of the same stuff. But what is notable about Greg Bovino being ousted is that it is an indicator that the administration is cracking. It is weak. It is, in fact, not doing okay. And so they figured that they had to throw out some sacrificial meat, the Greg Bovino meat. Melody Queen, thank you for the $5 super chat. And so, but what if we gave him like $50,000? That might be a different, he might change his tune. But we got some updates. There are a lot of court cases working through the system right now. And I want to remind folks, tomorrow evening is going to be a big time when the judge overseeing Minnesota's case against Kristi Noem
Lady Jack,
gets more
if
info.
they show up, the right-wing 2A protesters won't be as peaceful as y'all have managed. Stay safe and don't let idiots derail your movement.
We're gonna do our best. We're doing our best to keep a lid on things here, Melody Queen. Thank you for the $5
This
super
is
chat.
where it is most dangerous for us. This is the time we could possibly get complacent with this victory and having the admin slightly back down. Do not let up the pressure.
It is actually so much more important right now that you guys redouble your efforts on pressuring our elected officials. Like when they are weak, we don't take a break, we charge ahead. This is why the entire thrust of this in this segment, spoiler alert, it's to get you to call your elected representatives and or visit their offices and also send them faxes and emails. The entire purpose of this segment is to get you guys revved up to know that that's the thing you guys have to do. Okay? So organize and get ready, folks. Join your local Dems, join your local DSA, but also use the leverage you have to impress upon members of Congress that right now we need accountability for ICE. We need to abolish ICE, frankly. We need to like get as much as we can get, right? We need to make sure, like, if we can get out Stephen Miller, let's get out Stephen Miller. If we can get out Kristi Noem, let's get out Kristi Noem. I don't think abolishing ICE completely is currently on the table, but honestly, we should be demanding our Dems demand that as the starting point. Because if we're already watering down our asks from the beginning, we're just going to get even more watered down results as this goes through the process of negotiating with Republicans. So honestly, the starting position we should all be demanding is not what Chuck Schumer and the Democrats are putting out there. It should be abolish ICE.
I have a GoFundMe for my mom, and she and I have been through so much. This show is one of the only communities that makes me feel normal.
Oh, the original clapper. Thank you for the $5 super chat. And also, make sure you post that GoFundMe in the mutual aid portion of our Discord. Just get some more eyeballs on it from this community. Yeah, like we need to start with a strong opening negotiating position, which is abolish ICE. And the closest we can get to that point is going to be the maximum win that we can get in the moment. And we should continue to push for abolishing ICE. Okay? But let's take a look at what is happening right now as ICE continues to exist. So first of all, update today on Liam Ramos, the 5-year-old boy who was used as bait to try and lure his family out of their house by ICE. A judge has just issued a block to the deportation of Liam and his father. So they are not going to get deported in the immediate future, which is good. But of course, just to temper this good news, there's not going to be any kind of civil rights violation probe into the execution of Alex Preddy. So, again, it was Liam Ramos, the blue hat kid? Yes. That 5-year-old kid. 5-year-old child. Like, we are staring down a situation where people are like, we can reform this, and it's like a bunch of demons abducting children and trying to use them as bait, and like shooting mothers dead in the street, and like executing ICU nurses. Like, there's no reforming this. These people are cooked. They're not even like bothering to do a show investigation. And like, I just want to play this clip, a longer version of which was posted by MinMax the other day. But look at this. Look at this shit.
I will tell you this, brother.
What?
You know? I will tell you this. You raise your voice, I raise your voice.
If I raise my voice, you'll erase my...
Exactly, yeah. Yeah.
Are you serious? You
Yeah.
said if I raise my voice, you'll erase my voice?
Yes. I will tell you this, brother.
There's no reforming this. There's no reforming an institution that produces guys who, knowing that they're on camera, are saying, if you use your First Amendment right, I will kill you. There's no reforming this. Yeah, drunk with power would be like an accurate description of these clowns. You know? And like, not only, but again, like we keep talking about them like they are acting as human beings. You know? It's worth remembering that human beings don't always act like human beings. Sometimes they act like fucking demons. And I just want to really reiterate the message that so many people in this country are receiving right now is quite specifically that ICE are just monsters. Like, just inhuman monsters. Alright? One of the latest headlines from People magazine, which, oddly enough, we live in a timeline where People magazine is going harder on ICE than almost any other mainstream news outlet, and it's People goddamn magazine. But I'm grateful for it because People magazine probably has a higher readership than a lot of these other news outlets. Alright? But like, this story broke my heart. ICE denies detainee's request to attend his son's funeral. His son had a rare genetic disorder, Pompe disease, and this father was his full-time caregiver his entire life, and ICE denied him the ability to go and spend his dying child's last moments together. This headline's going around the country in People magazine. This is what the American people see. Every day that goes by, I want you to know that the moderate position, the compromise position, is arresting and prosecuting every single ICE agent, every single bureaucrat, every single person in leadership that let this happen. There is no reforming this. What service is this providing to anybody? And I want to remind all of you, we don't have to have federally empowered slave catchers in this country. We don't need that, because guess what? We could just provide a pathway to citizenship where these people fill out paperwork and maybe pay a fine. It doesn't have to be that these people get hunted down and then like cruelly kept away from their families and destroy their lives. It doesn't have to be that way. The same way, if you're going over the speed limit by like 1 or 2 miles per hour, you get pulled over for a speeding ticket. You don't get hauled over to like, you know, a supermax prison to be held and pending trial. You just pay a fine and get on with your life. Like, we do not have to do this. This was entirely a choice. And we need to undo this choice. There is no reason people in masks should be abducting people. There is no reason that father had to be forced to stay within confinement while his son died. I do want to say that our public pressure is eliciting some results, because the weakness that is currently the response this administration has to defend Kristi Noem is now starting to get to Stephen Miller. The calls for Miller to be out, the calls for Kristi Noem to get out. We need those calls to get louder. We need you guys to keep calling, to keep emailing, to keep faxing your elected officials to make that call as loud as possible. Okay? Katie Miller, Stephen Miller's wife, is clearly panicking here. Any early comments made were based on information sent to the White House through CBP, Miller told Axios in response to a story in which others blamed him for the massacre statement. You know, almost like people are responsible for the things they say, and if you get in front of the entire country and call a goddamn hero someone who is planning to do a terroristic massacre, maybe you shouldn't be in that job anymore. We need to pressure for Stephen Miller to be on the way out. There's no reason. Like, Stephen Miller offers nothing. He doesn't have money. He doesn't have power. Everyone fucking hates his guts. We need to get him out of there. All right? We need to get him out of there. The knives are currently out for looking for scapegoats, and we cannot allow Greg Bovino to be the only scapegoat here. Put pressure on this administration to get Kristi Noem out and Stephen Miller out. It is deeply important. Katie Miller also posting, between the lines, Miller said the Minnesota operation didn't follow the guidelines established by the White House in the aftermath of the January 7th shooting of another Minneapolis demonstrator, Renee Good. Specifically, Miller said the squads of CBP agents were supposed to be divided between officers engaged in the arrests of specifically targeted criminal aliens and other officers in charge of crowd control to keep agitators from interfering. We are examining why CBP was not following that protocol, he said. Again, they're looking for scapegoats. They're looking for other people to throw under the bus. These people should all be in jail? Yes. 100%. But Katie Miller is posting these things because she's worried that accountability might be coming. Now, it is important to note, and this comes from Ken Klippenstein's sources here, that despite the fact that Greg Bovino is gone, despite the fact that some ICE agents are apparently leaving the Minnesota area, the view of the operation in the eyes of ICE and CBP seems to be that it is going as expected. There has been a lot of rumors regarding the status of Metro Surge today. As of the latest report, Metro Surge is steady state and expected to continue as planned. So, I don't know how much credence to give this, other than, you know, a limited amount of damage control, obviously, because this is not going as they expected it to. Let's be 100% clear. This is not how they expected it to go. We know that's a lie. But the interesting part there, and the additional info there, is that they expect the current, you know, once ICE officers finish being shuffled around, they expect the current staffing of ICE to remain pretty steady here. They've reached the level that they think should stay. It should stay at. Which means we need to push a lot harder to get them out of here, because they're continuing to do shit. They're continuing to hurt people. They're continuing to harm people. So we cannot get complacent. We cannot go back to sleep because they're still here. Who is Ken Klippenstein? A great journalist. He does good work. Here is a video taken earlier today from Northeast Minneapolis. They're still fucking here.
What the fuck are you doing? Don't you have any fucking humanity?
Vamos in jail. We'll get him.
Señora, ¿cómo se llama? Jenny, ¿usted conocía al señor que corrió?
Sí, es mi primo.
¿Es su primo? ¿Cómo se llama su primo?
Segundo.
¿Segundo? ¿Y su apellido?
Ushka.
¿Ushka?
Sí.
Segundo Ushka. ¿Eso es su carro?
Sí. Por favor.
This is what they're doing here. This is what they're doing here. They're ripping families apart. They are not leaving. And I'm sorry, but any Democrat that does not understand the absolute importance right now of taking ICE out, of taking DHS out, of getting rid of the Stephen Miller and the Kristi Noem, and at least slowing this down. We have to, our mission right now is to stop this. I want these people fucking gone. Every day this is happening on our streets. Every day. They need to fucking get out of here. ICE has no place in Minnesota. ICE has no place in America. This is disgusting. Absolutely disgusting. There, again, keep banging the drum, folks. When you call your elected officials today, demand Nuremberg trials for these clowns. Demand accountability for these clowns. It is not enough for them to say, oh, well, we'll have a federal state investigation into what happened with these shootings. No, that's not even nearly enough. That is not enough accountability here. Because you know what? I gotta be honest with you guys. When I see the demand from that Democratic politicians are making for state federal cooperated investigations, what I see, frankly, is additional leverage for this criminal and lawless organization called DHS to simply poison the investigation and like ruin the chances of us actually seeing real justice. These people are liars to a man. Not a single ICE officer, not a single DHS official is capable of telling the truth. They are liars through and through. Disgusting. And not only that, they're also incompetent as hell. Because, like, what even happened in this clip? They abducted that woman's cousin. They abducted that woman's cousin. I don't know. I don't know if like that child was her cousin's child or if it was her child. But like it is awful. It is awful. You have observers having to shout at these clowns, don't shoot him, don't shoot him. Because we're all terrified going out there that we're going to see someone get shot in front of us now. Earlier today, ICE caused an international incident because not only are they evil, they're just incompetent as hell. Not a single one of them gives a damn enough about this city to understand where they have jurisdiction and where they don't, because in their mind, they believe everywhere in Minnesota is their jurisdiction, including foreign soil of other nations. Here is a video of ICE agents trying to break into the Ecuadorian consulate in Minneapolis.
This is the customer from Ecuador. You're not allowed. Relax. Okay, relax. I did not enter. If you touch me, I will grab you. If you touch me, I will grab you. You cannot enter. Okay. Okay. You cannot enter. Okay, but don't touch me. Yeah. Okay. You cannot enter. You cannot enter. All right, let's go. You cannot enter here. This is the consulate. This is the foreign government property. You cannot enter. Are you a cousin there? Right? Yes. Right here. All right. Yes.
They were just gonna walk right fucking in, try and swing those big dick guns of theirs around. Fucking clowns.
Sí, lo estoy filmando. No, pero ya tenés cuando... ¿Qué viste? Quisieron perseguir a las personas acá. Allí, por fuera de la me tocó hablar.
Makes me so mad. here is the statement put out by the Republic of Ecuador about this incident, translated into English, regarding the attempted incursion into the Ecuadorian consulate in Minneapolis by ICE agents. This morning, the Ecuadorian consul in Minneapolis reported that at approximately 11 a.m., an agent from U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement attempted to enter the consulate premises. Consulate officials immediately prevented the ICE officer from entering the consular office, thus guaranteeing the protection of the Ecuadorian citizens who were present at the consulate at that time and activating the emergency protocols issued by the Ministry of Foreign Affairs and Human Mobility. Therefore, the Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic immediately submitted a letter of protest to the United States Embassy in Ecuador to ensure that acts of this nature are not repeated at any of Ecuador's consular offices in the United States. Like, I want you to understand, like, an armed agent of the U.S. government setting foot against the will of the Ecuadorian consulate on their ground that's genuinely a military incursion. This is something that in the past the United States has shot bullets over. All right, just as an FYI, and bombs, of course. Like we're just in insane territory every day. Every day something insane happens. Doubt the ICE guy knows that? Of course he does. Of course he has no idea. But that's the thing. None of these chuckle fucks give a fuck. They are willing to violate any and every law because their guys have told them they are immune from any kind of prosecution. It's nuts. Even if they entered, doesn't mean the international community is going to do fuck all about it. America seems to have an international immunity. That's not true at all. Other countries are getting their hits in economically. The value of the dollar has been lately because a bunch of European nations have been selling their bonds in U.S. treasuries. We are currently actually living with the consequences of our actions, and it's only going to get worse for us every fucking day that these people are in power. It's just nuts. It's just nuts. Also, new details have come out about Alex Preddy, which is that about a week earlier, he had an altercation with ICE officers where he, as an observer with a whistle, got out to alert a neighborhood that ICE was chasing a family down the street. And he was blowing his whistle and he was filming officers. And those officers turned on him and beat him so badly that he cracked a rib. He broke a rib. And a week later, he was out on the street trying to stand up for people again with a broken rib. According to the source asked about this, by the way, when they broke his rib the first time, he thought he was going to die. And he still went out there again anyway. Just disgusting. Also, more evidence, by the way, that ICE has been doing essentially the equivalent of Starlight Tours, which is the practice of releasing folks without appropriate weather gear into severe weather conditions in order to harm them or kill them. Luckily, there is a large group of people who have congregated outside the Whipple building who are providing these folks with jackets, with burner phones, with rides to where they need to get to. But otherwise, if those people weren't showing up, like, people could die. Like, genuinely could die. And there are some reports that folks are being found beaten up in the woods near the Whipple building. So, just as an FYI, like, some of these people are being left out in the middle of nowhere in these conditions. But here is someone being released from the Whipple building to kind of illustrate what I'm talking about. You can't play that song. They just released this person with, like, a sweatshirt and jeans. It's like negative 10 degrees below zero. Absolutely disgusting shit. And I just want to say it is really nice to see. Shout out to folks who have continued to turn up to Alex Preddy memorial demonstrations. Here's a vigil that was held in Portland.
Yeah, this is great. I guess we're far enough away. So we're gonna comply.
This line of people apparently went on for about a quarter of a mile. Genuinely, it's just nice. It's just nice to know folks outside of Minnesota care. Ken Klippenstein, though, has been doing some incredible journalistic work. I'm going to link you guys this piece that he put together. Here you guys go. Here you guys go. Here you guys go. This piece is specifically about morale within ICE. He spoke with about half a dozen members of ICE and CBP, and some of the quotes are wild. Like, as much as I support this administration, there needs to be more common sense in situations like this, not a knee-jerk damage-controlled narrative that does not line up with the evidence on video. One Border Patrol agent said in a private chat group that was shared with me, this individual was shot 8 to 9 times while unarmed. We can't always support what happens just because it's one of us. Like, it is interesting to get this insight into how these people are thinking about it. I can go on, but overall, it's been a ridiculous experience, one ICE agent told me. He says that many agents on the ground are just going along with the expanded mission because they're more interested in their away-from-home per diem pay and collecting overtime than whatever the mission is. The brand new agents are idiots, an experienced ICE agent assigned to Homeland Security investigations told me. The same sentiment was echoed by virtually everyone I talked to, with several conveying the view that Preddy's death was the fault of some skittish young recruit who panicked when he heard the word gun, if that's what even happened. Like, it's not great that, like, some of these ICE agents are, like, a lot of the new guys are pretty sketchy, honestly. Like, that's a really bad sign. That's a really, really bad sign, guys. I would very much recommend you guys read this whole article. Linked it in chat. Ken Klippenstein's ICE Unloads piece, I think, is very, very necessary reading. Again, just this paragraph, and it'll be the last thing I say about this. This paragraph alone really kind of changes the tone of who ICE are, or what ICE is, rather. They paint a picture that is more Police Academy or even Reno 911 than a Gestapo on the march. Yes, they agree that Washington is a huge problem and are uncomfortable with the mission creep that is taking them away from actual immigration enforcement, but internally, theirs is also the story of gung-ho 19-year-olds, drunken stakeouts, and senior officers disappearing into meetings and all of a sudden needing time off. And I think that's I think it is worth remembering that these people are incompetent boobs, Like, these people are dumbasses. And, like, they are bad at their jobs. They are traitors to this country and their communities. They are people whose job it is to snatch children. They're cowards. And, like, none of this is to say, oh, they're not responsible for their own actions. They absolutely are. But also, it's good to know our enemy and to know the different aspects of our enemy. And in this particular case, our enemies are morons and evil. Like, that's the thing, right? Like, our enemies can be both. And I think that is the picture that is increasingly becoming clear, even internally when they talk amongst themselves. It's interesting to say the least. But the tide is turning, even as we get information from within ICE that like ICE agents themselves are just like completely at a loss as to what to do, or like, oh no, I'm beginning to get uncomfortable with this child snatching operation I signed up for. Also, people in positions of power on the Republican end of the spectrum have started to buckle and fold a little bit. Earlier today, 2 Republican senators called for Kristi Noem to resign. We need a lot more. I think we need like another 5 or 6. I forget the exact numbers of Dems in the Senate, but we need to get slightly more Dems in the Senate on board with this, and I think we might be able to get them. Okay? Lisa Murkowski and Tom Tillis are both calling on Kristi Noem to resign. It is unlikely that she will just resign apropos of nothing until like enough votes are started to be aimed in her direction and she wants to save herself the embarrassment, right? So what's really important here is that we maximize pressure, especially on Republican elected officials, because right now they're the ones experiencing the weakness. All right? Like, I mean, guys, this is where Ted fucking Cruz is.
The problem is, particularly for someone not paying attention, if you're being told this is a mom of 3 and there's no indication, you know, she's not waving an ISIS flag or doesn't have a suicide vest around her.
Yeah.
Escalating the rhetoric doesn't help, and it actually loses credibility. And so I would encourage the administration to be more measured, to recognize the tragedy and to say we don't want anyone's lives to be lost. And the politicians who are pouring gasoline onto this fire, they need to stop.
Y'all, he's talking to the Trump administration, the ones who keep calling, you know, Alex Preddy a domestic terrorist, the ones who keep calling Renee Good a domestic terrorist, the people who are calling observers who are showing up to keep their communities safe and ICE agents accountable domestic terrorists. Like, guys, we've arrived at a point in time where Ted Cruz is like saying, buckling when it comes to this administration. And this is the guy who has been licking Donald Trump's boots for the past like decade after Donald Trump called his wife ugly and said his dad killed JFK. Like, when Ted Cruz knows it's time to start readjusting away from this administration, that is, well, it says something. And it says something about the strength of this administration that is not... But here we are with, you know, it's also breaking through. Like, ICE is not something that is just, like, only for people who are politics-brained like you guys. Like, a lot of folks who are just normal people who don't normally tune into politics are tuning into this. Which is, by the way, why a majority of white people and a majority of men are supportive of abolishing ICE. You know, like, the approval ratings for Donald Trump are not doing so hot. I don't buy it. I think if you asked him who's ratcheting up the rhetoric, he'd say Tim Walz, Ilhan Omar, and Senate Dems or the media. But he's specifically using the example that like Donald Trump and the Trump administration used for Renee Good, which is calling a mother of 3 a domestic terrorist. And like, that's why I think he's aimed more towards Trump there. But I think if you asked him point blank, is Trump to blame for this? I don't think he would say yes. But here is a clip of Victor Wembanyama, who is I believe basketball player for the Spurs. I'm not super up on my basketball teams, so I believe the Spurs from the big picture of a Spur behind him.
PR has tried, but I'm not going to sit here and give some politically correct, you know. I know, I mean, every day I wake up and see the news and I'm horrified. I think that it's crazy that some people might make it seem like, or make it sound like it's acceptable. The murder of civilians is acceptable, you know. every day. I mean, I read the news and sometimes I'm asking very deep questions about my own life. But you know, I'm conscious also that saying everything, you know, that's on my mind would have a cost that's too great for me right now. So it's I'd rather not get into too many details.
Is that kind of a big factor in this, that people have that fear that if they speak openly about an injustice they see, there can be repercussions?
Oh, for sure. I mean, it's terrible. It's and, you know, I know I'm a foreigner. You know, I live in this country, and I am concerned for sure.
Is that part of your hesitance, being a foreigner? Does that play into your?
Oh, for sure, for sure. I mean, it's yeah.
I mean, this is when you have someone who is openly saying, like, this is not right, but also I can't continue to say what I want to say because I'm a foreigner and I don't want to deal with the repercussions there. Like, that's a massive indictment of where we are right now, but also that is going to be seen by a whole lot of people who usually tune out of politics. And they're going to be like, whoa, what? This guy can't even say what he wants to say about this because he's afraid he's going to get deported. He's afraid he's going to like have his entire career destroyed and he's going to be like deported to France. Like that, I think for a lot of folks, people are only just now waking up to the idea that, oh, ICE action in Minneapolis or in Maine or, you know, that isn't just something that's over there for other people to deal with. That's here. That's happening here to us, all of us. What happens in Minnesota is what's going to happen elsewhere. And so, like, yeah, he has a justified fear of retaliation for speaking too loudly. That's where we're at right now in America. But we're also at a time where everyday people from all walks of life are speaking up and acting and in ways that they can. Because not everyone can do everything. Not everyone can say everything. But we can show up where it matters. And, you know, I just think, I was thinking about this video in particular of a guy showing up in Minneapolis.
Need the gas mask.
I do. Yeah, man.
Check to make sure there's a filter in there. Gas mask. I got like 30 of them. Shield and shit in the truck is free to grab. Make fucking
That's motherfucking right, man. That's right. My man.
What job's over, dog?
Yo, what is this? This is from the protest the other day, right after, I believe, the shooting of Alex Preddy. People were fucking pissed. All right? So that guy showed up on short notice with gas masks to hand out to protesters and, like, you know, protective gear. Like, dude drove over, showed the fuck up, and showed up to help folks do better in the protests, right? Like, and that's one of the things I want to say, like, different people can show up in different ways. Not everyone can be truck guy and show up with, like, an entire, you know, shipment of gas masks for folks to just, like, keep them safe in the tear gas. Not everyone can do that, but that guy could. Start thinking about what you guys can do in your community. How can you show up? It's important to ask, how can you show up? Which side are you on, folks? Once you know which side, how can you show up? And I will say, pressure on our elected officials right now is not hopeless. It's not hopeless. And I want to point to the statements from Representative Delia C. Ramirez in Congress, who is specifically identifying that not just ICE needs to be abolished, but the entirety of DHS. The problem isn't training. DHS was built to violate our rights, she said. It is super important, folks, If you can, call Delia Ramirez's office and give her a thank you. Call her office and give her a thank you, because we need to also be thanking our politicians who get it right, who are on the right side of history. So call your elected officials and push them towards this point. Abolish DHS, abolish ICE. Impeach Kristi Noem, impeach and remove Stephen Miller. And when they start going on the right side of these issues, call them and thank them. Okay? It is very rare for these people to be thanked, by the way, for their stances. It is necessary for us to be exerting the maximum amount of political pressure that we can get to move us towards the abolition of all of us from under the yoke of DHS and ICE. All right? Super, super important. Let's just take a look at this. The officer who shot Alex worked for DHS for 8 years. The officer who shot Renee worked for DHS for over 10 years. Both are considered highly trained. The problem isn't training. DHS was built to violate our rights and has been empowered to act with impunity. We must melt ICE and dismantle DHS. Absolute queen. Putting pressure on these people is not pointless, because we need to do everything that we can to facilitate the end of this white supremacist administration. I mean, they're going around national parks now removing signage related to indigenous people. It's very clear what the agenda is for this administration, and it is specifically reasserting white supremacy. That is what they are trying to do. It is what they do, not just with ICE, not just with DHS, but with the National Park Service, with every arm of the government that they have gotten their sticky, grotesque fingers into, their tendrils. It is a violation on all of us. I just want to say that we might not have a better shot than now to try and get rid of Noem and Miller. And I say that specifically because as things have unfolded after the killing, the execution, the brutal murder of Alex Preddy, pressure has been mounting, anger has been mounting, and one of the nation's largest unions has now come out to call for the resignation of Kristi Noem and the resignation of Stephen Miller. AFGE is demanding their resignation, specifically because they have set up a situation where one government employee executed another government employee, because the killer of Alex Preddy, the killers of Alex Preddy, were also likely members of AFGE, because AFGE represents, surprise, surprise, the largest number of federal employees in the country. And they also represent workers at the VA, as well as workers in CBP. Wild stuff. AFGE stands for American Federation of Government Employees. They are demanding that Miller and Noem resign over the statements that they have made and the policy decisions that they have made, specifically denigrating Alex Preddy as a domestic terrorist and a would-be assassin. Statement. I would like to read AFGE's statement in full. Yeah, here we go. Found it. AFGE demands resignation or termination of DHS Secretary Kristi Noem and Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller for smearing slain AFGE member Alex Preddy as domestic terrorist. Yesterday, AFGE brought together labor and faith leaders from Minneapolis and across the nation to mourn our fallen brother from Local 3669, Alex Preddy. We honored his life and legacy and lifted up his family, his friends, his union, Minneapolis, and our nation in prayer. Today, we demand accountability. In the immediate aftermath of Alex's killing, DHS Secretary Kristi Noem betrayed the public trust by slandering the good name of our union brother and calling him a domestic terrorist. Alex Preddy was a patriotic ICU nurse at a VA hospital who devoted his life to serving America's veterans. That claim was reckless, defamatory, and unsupported by the facts. Noam was preceded in this false statement by Stephen Miller, Deputy White House Chief of Staff, who is also the architect of the chaotic and failed immigration policy in Minnesota. And I want to say just real quick that it is great that the union is calling out Miller, not just for his spoken statements, but for being the guy behind the policy, by pinning this on him in multiple ways. Because what the administration has been trying to do in response to calls for Miller's resignation is trying to say, well, he didn't have all the facts. He was given false information by someone else. Haha. We won't say who, though. But what the union is making clear in this statement is, no. It's both for your statements and for your role in policy. I appreciate that. I appreciate the on-point messaging. Our demand is clear. Department of Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem, who was responsible for carrying out the policy that led to Alex's needless killing, and Deputy White House Chief of Staff Stephen Miller, the architect of that policy, must resign immediately. If they refuse, President Trump must dismiss them. Public reporting has established that Mr. Miller is the driving force behind the administration's harsh immigration agenda. He personally directed its implementation and used high-pressure tactics to force compliance across the federal government. These were not abstract policy choices. They were imposed from the top and enforced without regard for the consequences. Secretary Noem willingly carried out his agenda. Secretary Noem made deliberate choices that reshaped the Department of Homeland Security and enabled this tragedy. Over the past year, she removed some leaders, consolidated authority, and enforced aggressive immigration tactics that prioritized political objectives over professional judgment and public/officer safety. Those choices created the conditions that led directly to this tragedy. This conduct is consistent with Secretary Noem's broader record at DHS. Under her leadership, TSA workers have faced sustained attacks on collective bargaining rights and union representation. At FEMA, her actions have weakened frontline workers, undermined labor protections, eroded accountability within the agency that is so critical to disaster preparedness and response. Over the past year, she removed senior leaders within the Department of Homeland Security and reshaped the agency's command structure to ensure adherence to Mr. Miller's aggressive immigration strategies. Those decisions escalated tensions, undermined professional judgment, and put lives at risk. Taken together, the actions of Miller and Noem, both before and after Alex's killing, make clear they are unfit to serve in their current positions or any position requiring the public trust. AFGE calls for a full and transparent investigation into Alex's killing by an independent third party. We also call for bipartisan congressional oversight to uncover the truth, ensure accountability, and begin repairing the damage to public trust. Well done. Well done, folks. That's a good statement. And I think this is why, folks, we need to end this segment here with a call to action, right? So, folks, use 5calls.org to call your elected representative. Use faxzero.com to fax your elected representatives. If their voicemail inbox is full, call their local offices and leave a message there, okay? Start using every lever at your disposal to put pressure on them to call for the resignation of Miller and Noem, to get impeachment on the table if it's not already for your elected representatives, all right? It is vitally important that we bring to bear this level of pressure now and not like a week or two from now. Because specifically, like, this is going to have a short half-life. We all know what the media cycle is like. In like a week or two, this might not even be a blip on the radar anymore. And we cannot allow that to happen. So, folks, get organized. You can use !organize in chat to get the link to 5calls.org as well as mobilize.us/indivisible and no kings. But folks, I'm also going to tell you guys there's a great tool available to you called faxzero.com. It's really easy. It even has listings for Congress people in the House and the Senate and even your governor, and you can simply put in their information and fax someone for free using this website. Doesn't cost you anything. You don't need a fax machine. Gets a physical piece of paper into their offices. Especially useful for older members of the Senate and the House. So please, folks, start doing this shit. It is really, really important. Let's get on it. Use 5calls.org to make your calls, and do it every day, folks. Make this a daily thing. Make sure your name is known to their offices. Like, be the person who is so irritating to these elected officials that they're like, oh God, it's this one again. You know, it doesn't take that much time. Make your calls, make your demands heard, and let's maximize the pressure this administration is feeling when it comes to calls for the removal of Kristi Noem and Stephen Miller and the abolition of the abolishment of ICE. Okay? We need these changes to happen. Not just us here in Minneapolis and Minnesota, but so do all of you, because this is going to come to you if we don't stop it here. All right? So let's get to work. Whew. There we go. We did it. Made it through another segment. Folks, we've been going for 3 hours now. If you've been getting anything out of today's show, please hit that follow button, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button. And folks, consider subscribing even. I don't remember if I said that button, but hit that button too. And also, please consider financially supporting the stream, because you guys make this show possible. I could not do it without you guys, because this job sometimes is like staring into the abyss, man.
Riverboat deck is going to town. All the viewers gather round. Twitch and YouTube and swishy streams. All that content is bursting the scenes. Politics, gaming, and plenty more. Your sense of fashion you'll adore. So grab your stuff and hop aboard. We're going straight to Jack's Discord.